I kind of think of already Egypt was an important market for most clients, and it was a post notification system. Now, being a pre notification system, I'd imagine that most clients are eager to comply with the new competition rules. And given that there was already a good number of post closing notification, do you think that for the short term there is required a learning curve for the competition authority to have more sector specialists, economists, etc., or do you think it's the same experience and knowledge that the staff already enjoyed in the review of post-closing procedures?
No, in fact, the competition authority itself, they announced that they have an awareness campaign to all sectors, to all economic activities, be it local or international. So I believe by the coming few weeks, they'll be arranging for a series of awareness sessions for lawyers, for like CEOs of the companies and this stuff. I believe the last talk with the chairperson of the competition authority mentioned that he will gather all the law firms in Egypt in order to address them and explain the plan for the competition authority and how are they going to implement the new amendments.
And then the
Which is interesting to see in Egypt, because this is a kind of a direct communication between the market and the government on the other hand.
Has there been concerns raised on these new amendments? For example, for companies, what were the main concerns that were raised?
To be honest, they were not concerned about the amendments themselves, because it's like any other jurisdiction. You have a pre-closing notification system, so it is normal like in the EU or the US or many other jurisdictions in the region. The problem is with the time frame. So they are complaining about the time frame. 30 working days, extendable by 15 working days is a long time. And then this is phase one. If it is cleared, that's fine. If it's not cleared, then there is phase two, which is 60 working days plus 15 days of extension.
And that's discretion of the authority?
No, actually, it's 60 days. It's fixed by the law, so they can issue their decision of clearance before the lapse of this period of time. However, they still have the 60 working days, so people are still to test the performance of the competition authority in this regard, whether they are going to clear all transactions at a reasonable time, or they are going to consume the whole 30 working days or 60 working days in phase two.
On the topic, again, on the timeline, but it's still, because it's not clear, do you have heavy formalities on submission of documents? Because you mentioned the clock should start when you submit documents. Are they burdensome, or it is still not clear yet at the moment?
They were burdensome even for the post notification. They have a kind of a template where you have to fill everything for the affiliates and subsidiaries and everything, and even for the shareholders and their contact details, and how would the control change from before and after the transaction. So all this information you have to deliver.
And foreign documents need to be legalized, translated, stamped?
Legalized, no. There is no legalization. It's not a requirement by the law. However, it has to be translated into Arabic for the formality of filling the template. However, the documents themselves, they can be submitted in English. But in order to fill the form, you have to fill it in Arabic.
That's not too burdensome.
It's not, but it is the requirement of the information, especially if it is a big transaction. But again, it's similar to any other jurisdiction, I believe, if it has a pre-closing notification regime.
I'll step a bit back on the Egyptian law and the merger control changes. There's been changes as well in Kuwait, and our next series will include guests from our Kuwait office to discuss the changes to the law. Let me take your hat here as a former executive director of the Egyptian Competition Authority. Do you feel there's a winds of change happening in our region towards a regime that is more geared towards catering for anti-competitive framework that is a bit more following the EU standards?
Yeah, let me tell you this. When we started implementing the competition law in Egypt, we just focused on the behavioral aspect of it and not the structural aspect of the market. And now we are introducing the structural aspect of the market, which is quite or similarly important, same as the behavioral one. If we have the two in place, I believe this makes a better market for investors. But if we have one on the behavioral side and the structural side, so we have like 2 or 3 players in the market, this may distort competition as well.
So, I've read the strategy of the ECA from their website, and it's quite impressive as to what they would like to achieve in terms of educating the private sector, in terms of equipping the department with the latest databases, linking databases of governments to share data with the tax authorities, etc. Do you think that this also translates to cooperation in terms of merger control applications submitted to the Egyptian authority to be also viewed by their counterparts in the Arab states?
Well, we have, I have an answer to this, but let me tell you that Egypt has a twinning program with the EU, and accordingly, we are coordinating in Egypt with the European Competition Commission and each and every competition authority in Europe. This is one part. The other part is the Arab Competition Network, which was created April of 2022, where all the Arab countries who have established already competition authorities, they came together and they launched this Arab Competition Network, and they are cooperating, exchanging information and expertise, and sometimes they support each other in certain investigation. And then we have the COMESA, and this is the third part, whereby Egypt is part of the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, whereby Egypt has to cooperate with the COMESA Competition Commission in all the filings there.
Yeah.
So this is already happening even before the enactment of the new amendments.
That's a lot of
Cooperation.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cooperation.
Just one important thing to note here, that we have 2 exceptions under the new amendments that that has to be addressed. The first one is the banking sector, because according to the central bank law that was issued in 2020, all the banking sector activities and all the activities that are supervised by the Central Bank of Egypt are not subject to the Egyptian Competition Authority supervision, and they are subject to the central bank supervision, and they have already a competition unit under the Central Bank of Egypt. This is one. The other exception is all the activities of the Financial Regulatory Authority. So wherever there is an activity that is supervised by the Financial Regulatory Authority in Egypt, FRA, it is subject to their supervision and not the competition.
Like if there's an IPO or public tender, for example?
No, it's not that. It is for the insurance practice, mortgage, financial leasing, microfinance. All these are subject to the supervision of the Financial Regulatory Authority. This is like the other side, or the counterparty to the financial non-banking sector and the financial banking sector. So we have the banking sector on one side supervising all the activities in the sector, and we have the Financial Regulatory Authority supervising the non-banking financial sector.
What made me think when we talked about thresholds and the Egyptian currency being devaluated this year, it kind of made me think, what if in 2 years' time it devaluated more? Will that trigger amendments to the law or should it be removed as a sum from the law and placed into a regulation that can be easily revisited?
Well, first, I hope it's not
Yes,
related
please.
more than that, because this is tough already for
Cannot
us
go any lower.
in Egypt. But anyways, no, the law has to be amended another time, because these are provided under the law that was issued by the parliament, and they have to be referred to the parliament again for another amendment.
So it's a hassle. Yes.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah.
And well, one more point on the final point of this, and thank you for your time, but I want to know, when are the executive regulations going to be issued?
Good questions. We are all asking this question in Egypt now. Again, according to the call with the chairperson of the Competition Authority, he mentioned that they already worked on it before enacting the amendments, and they are expecting to have the executive regulations and the guidelines for all the submissions in place before the end of January.
Thank you, Khalid, so much for joining our competition series. I'm sure we will have you back once the executive regulations are out or any more changes are included.
Always a pleasure. Thank you
you so
very
much.
much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.